Um, so Alex Krainer, his entire theory in this video is based on the fact that he believes that the Pentagon is going broke and that the United States is in some, existential financial threat, and that it's going to tear down the entire financial system. So I just want to play a couple minutes of this.
U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. And it has played out a little bit. We did have very strong bear market in treasury bonds, not just U.S., but also European, British, since 2021. But then they stabilized 23, 24, 25. And now they're coming under pressure again. And I think that the pressure is going to be such that we might see a very, very painful crisis and extreme price drops on treasury bonds in the West and spikes in interest rates. And that may sound an extreme price drops on treasury bonds in the West and spikes in interest rates. And that may sound like abstract.
Global financial system. If you're going to see extreme, yield spiking on bonds, it's not going to start in the U.S. It's going to start over in Europe, because they are the ones who have, they have a shadow banking system, and they're dependent on the U.S. Treasuries for as pristine collateral in their system. So if bonds start spiking, they'll spike over there first. But ultimately, even if the United States did have a major spike in their bonds, and there was a big bond sell-off and a bond Armageddon like he's describing, and even in the worst case scenario, at least North America can refinance its system really quickly, because we not only have a solid present value, we also have future value. We have resources, and we have a nice, big, beautiful ocean between us and them. So I don't believe that he's correct on this. He is convinced that the Pentagon is running out of money. I just don't understand whatsoever how that could happen under the current circumstances. We have the capacity to be able to refinance the system if we have to, but Europe does not, because they don't have resources and they don't have the capacity to calculate, future values to refinance their system based on their current relationships in the world. They have cut off Russia. They're not. They're under a lot of scrutiny right now by the Treasury, Scott Bessent, who's really looking at political terrorism. And like everything is really escalating in that department. And so when Alex is talking about how, the West is going to have a financial crisis, notice how he just says the West is going to have a crisis, but he doesn't say that it's the euro dollar market. He's not specific about exactly what the problem is. And the problem is the euro dollar market. The problem is this $100 trillion shadow banking system that is bank to bank with no central bank oversight to back it up when it runs into trouble. And as soon as the private equity markets start cracking, it spreads very, very fast. And right now, it's really low on liquidity. It doesn't have the kind of liquidity that the United States have. Okay. And even Canada, Canada's under a lot of pressure because part of the the Don Rowe Doctrine that they call it is about consolidating North America. And I personally see a lot of signs that Ottawa wants to do this. And I've been talking about that for a long time on my channel. So we'll just see.
The price of the 10-year Treasury note in the United States is far and away the most important price in the world, because it impacts all other markets as well. And once that goes, everything goes, because that's also collateral for most financial institutions in the world. So if the value of your collateral falls by half, you're going to have to be hiding that. You're going to have to be hiding that you're broke, and the only way that you can hide this is by printing money out of thin air and plugging up those holes, which is a path to hyperinflation. So we're looking at.
But they have already done this many times. They've already patched up these holes, like with the 2008 mortgage-backed security crisis, with the 2019 crisis. I mean, America has consistently been bailing out Europe, bailing them out, bailing them out. And now, the United States wants to forge a new destiny for the continent without them and all their problems. And honestly, Alex sounds like he's apologizing for the Gulf countries, the Gulf states, that really got into bed with the wicked stepmother, the UK scam system. It's a scam. It's climate change. It's social governance. It's the UN. It's insurance, and it's all based. Most of it. It's all just based on a scam. So, if he thinks that the 10-year in the U.S. is at risk, and he may be right to some extent, but the last one to be standing will be North America. It will not be the Gulf countries. It will not be the European Union. It will be North America. And we can rapidly refinance. We have immense capacity in Canada alone to refinance for a new system. And it may very well serve a lot of good to collapse this whole entire thing. But right now, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to hold it all together for the benefit of the people, to try to do a smooth transition. But Alex seems to be feeling like, well, the Pentagon is going to make the Gulf countries pay for this war, and they're out of money. And well, maybe they should pay for the war, because they're the ones who kind of got into this sleazy system with the wicked stepmother to begin with. They were created by her. So, and he goes on further to say later on in the video that these Gulf countries, that, that they might be worried for their lives, that their people might string them up and hang them, when their system collapses, that it's, and he's kind of blaming it all on Trump. But meanwhile, I think that Trump is basically looking after the interests of the American people and using the leverage that he has to bring the Europe and the Gulf countries to be accountable, to have accountability. This is what I see. And Canada as well. Canada is really trapped in the middle of this because, unfortunately, we're collateral security, probably to the tune of at least $1 trillion. When you look at all of our supply management cartels that have all their money over there, and our pension funds, and like we've got lots and lots over there, and they have lots and lots over here too. And I personally, when I'm looking at my country and I'm looking at my prime minister, my premier, that's what I see. I see that they want to get away from this whole euro-dollar mess that's been created since World War II. So I just wanted to finish that idea up. The biggest problem with the eurodollar market, number one, they have no resources over there in Europe. Number two, there's no supervision. There's no central bank backstop to back it up. Like the United States, if they need to print money, they control the most pristine collateral in the world. They can print all the money they need if necessary, if that's what they choose to do. They're also setting up alternative payment rails with stable coins and Bitcoin and other things like that. They want transparency. They want accountability in the financial system, as well as cash in the system. And Europe just seems to want CBDCs and massive government oversight. And this is who the Gulf countries got into bed with. And this is who set them up. And I'm actually pretty shocked that Alex almost seems to be apologizing for these despots in the Gulf. But that's... and his suggestion that they're broke is ludicrous. And today we had Scott Bessent talking about how he's bringing forward major enforcements against political crimes of terrorists, which is what we saw happen to the United States, right? Like this is what's been going on. Massive, how many plants were burned down, the Antifa protests, the extreme left wing protests, and the funding that has gone into that they have been remedying. They brought a lot of remedies to the left. And, he doesn't even mention that in this video. A lot of that being sponsored offshore by Europe and the UK, because they targeted President Trump. They stole the election from him in 2020. And, but he doesn't take any of that into consideration, Alex, unfortunately. So it's there's a channel on X called Debriefing 17, and he says here, I've been saying this for 6 years. Today, the Treasury Secretary of the United States stood at a ministerial convened by Secretary Rubio and said it from the podium. He said, sophisticated organized networks operate across borders to incite violence within them. I've been calling that a transnational illicit network class embedded in sovereign institutions. He said the unified front between international Marxism and radical Islamic movements need not share the same ultimate vision to share the same immediate enemy. I've been calling that the evil McDonald's, no flag, no nationality, a franchise that operates through whatever sovereign institutions provides, opacity. He said charitable entities have been financial conduits for foreign influence activity. I've been tracking that money, $278 million, through Goldman Sachs donor-advised funds into CCP-aligned nonprofits. That's right, China's involved in this. The South District, New York grand jury is open. Goldman is cooperating. Bessent personally delivered the ultimatum to Goldman CEO. He said Treasury is mobilizing the same tools deployed against terrorists abroad to confront this emerging threat at home. I've been documenting those tools: OFAC, FinCEN, IRS, CI, the FTO toolkit, wallet sanctions, tether instant freezes, material support prosecutions, the same authorities that just froze nearly $1 billion in Iranian crypto and designated 134 ISIS wallet addresses. He said, no facilitator should assume that anonymity confers impunity. I've been showing you that the rails are glass. He said financial institutions must know their grantees. That's KYC for philanthropy, know your customer. The same transparency being built for stablecoins, market structure, and banking is now applied to charitable giving. 3 speeches in 23 days. America will write the rules of the next economy. Fed Chairman Warsh confirms the institutional handoff. We will dismantle the networks that sustain political terrorism. So, they are pushing for transparency. They want accountability. And the Gulf Coast countries and Europe do not want that. And their whole system was built on secrecy jurisdictions, hiding money, hiding from taxes, hiding from accountability. So the fact that Alex doesn't mention any of this in his analysis makes him, to me, to be very suspicious. That he's putting out a narrative that somehow the United States the Pentagon is broke, and, Trump and his crazy comments, you just can't take him at face value. You have to really look at it. It's a tell. It's a tell. It's a tell. Nobody knows what's going on with Iran. Nobody knows what's going on with Ukraine. We don't have it. Nobody really knows. Okay? We have to look at the outcomes of things. And that's why I've been saying for a long time that I didn't believe any of the narrative about Ukraine or Iran. I don't believe it. I do see, though, that there is a financial war happening, and that my country, Canada, and Greenland are smack dab right in the middle of it. That's all I have to say. Bye for now.